In today's video, we're going to be diving into this exciting upcoming pattern. There is more storminess on the way. The tropics are, of course, blowing up as we're approaching the peak of the season. And we have a big Arctic blast on the way as we approach the middle point of September. That's what we've been talking about. But today, we're actually going to take an extended look as well. In addition to what we typically do, we're also going to be taking a look at the entire second half of September and even a long-range look into the beginning of October. So there is so many exciting things to talk about today. Before we do, real quickly, I do have to mention Prestige Weather. We've released an early release of our snowfall forecast and now our first freeze forecast over there that you can gain access to right away in the pinned comment and description down below for only $5 a month. We also do weekly consulting calls over there and also consulting posts regionally across the nation. So if you want to check that out, again, it's in the description and pinned comment down below. Let's just get into this storminess. And as we just reach later on today, happy Labor Day, by the way, we can see that there is a lot of storms firing up for a lot of the western states, even south central regions of Canada, as we do have a stronger 995 low down here in South Dakota, a relatively strong 999 low up here in south central Canada as well. So there's multiple different organized areas of low pressure, if you will. And then we have this kind of area of thunderstorms rising up from the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico up into Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, and even into the Ohio Valley and Midwest a little bit here, Illinois, Indiana area. Let's keep going. It's going to be a relatively nice Labor Day today. For tomorrow on Tuesday, September 5th, here we can see that there's 1,001. We do have lots and lots of thunderstorms happening for the Dakotas here, Minnesota as well, and even into areas of Canada. And then we can see areas in the Ohio Valley again. Also areas along that Mississippi River area, we're dealing with some thunderstorms going on. Relatively quiet out west, relatively quiet for the East Coast as well. It's mostly that middle region that we're watching for some potential storms to fire up. As we reach Wednesday the 6th here, this low is only 1,004 millibars, but we do see a lot of thunderstorms firing up from this one, all the way from the deeper south into bits of the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and even southern Canada. So we're seeing this one bringing far-stretching impacts to many different folks here. As we reach Thursday, September 7th here, we can see things are taking aim a little bit further eastward. Again, the deeper south, all the way up through the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. But now we're seeing the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast get involved with some of these thunderstorms. Certainly a very, very interesting pattern we find ourselves in. And it's really going to be an active one, to say the least. We've been in a little bit of a lull here as far as the activity goes, but we're seeing more and more with every model run now. So certainly picking things up quickly. By the time we're reaching Friday, September 8th here, we can see thunderstorms for a lot of the eastern United States. Again, that low is dying out, but we can see that there is just thunderstorms really prevailing regardless of that fact. We can see by the time we reach Saturday, it's again going to be another active stormy day for the Gulf Coast all the way up the East Coast and even far into eastern Canada, as you can see. And then we have this area of thunderstorms here for the Rockies and Northern Plains that is also going to be impactful. So multiple areas with storms ongoing at this point. Now for Sunday, September 10th, this is when a lot of our first NFL games are happening, which is very, very exciting. The southeast through the mid-Atlantic and even into the northeast, we're seeing these thunderstorms really, really prevailing for a lot of the eastern United States. Also for the plains and Rockies, we're still seeing this area here that we saw the day before with some thunderstorm activity. So definitely a pretty slow-moving pattern where a lot of these days look like the day prior. That is what I would say about that. We do see that this area expands quite a bit by the time we're reaching Monday, September 11th. Montana, Wyoming, through the plains and back up through the Midwest and into the Great Lakes as well. We're seeing some activity, as well as this Pacific Northwest coast all the way up into the Pacific coast there of Canada as well. And then we see some isolated and scattered thunderstorm up and down that eastern coast. Let's keep going though. By the time we reach Tuesday, September 12th, we do have some thunderstorms really, really firing up for a lot of the plains, Ohio Valley and Midwest. Some also for the mid-Atlantic and southeast coast here as well. So we see this stretching down the southeast coast. By the time we reach Wednesday, which will be our final day as well, we see a major hurricane out there in the Atlantic. We're going to talk about the tropics in a little bit here. And we are seeing this kind of elongated area with some thunderstorms all the way from the plains through this area here and even towards the East Coast. Now, as we keep going on with the video, we can see that the precipitation is looking a little bit more, I guess, busy than what we were seeing before. We have this above average area here for eastern Canada, all the way into the Great Lakes and down the southeast and mid-Atlantic coast. We do have this area of above average activity as well. Very quiet for the west, as you can see, almost no activity for a lot of these areas. And then there's just this area kind of in between where we're also not seeing too much ongoing. Anywhere in the reds, as a rule of thumb, is usually where we're going to be watching for above average activity. That's going to be where we're having 2 to 5 inches of precipitation overall over the next 10 days. I'm sure a lot of you are excited for this temperature pattern, so let's just take a look at this. We see the warmth and the heat prevails in the east, and I want to just kind of note that there is a negative PNA here. So what this does is it encourages the warmth to move around that cold area, and we see this surging the warmth into the east. And we're going to see a big flip in this pattern not too far in the future, actually. We're just going to slide through, and we see this already beginning to shift by the time we're reaching the 8th time frame, so even earlier than initially what we expected. And really it's flipped big time by the time we're reaching about the 13th, 14th. We see mostly warmth in here, indicating, again, the opposite, positive PNA. PNA standing for Pacific North American Oscillation. And this forces the cold to move around this warm region. So the opposite of what we were just taking a look at a minute ago. So we see that completely flip. And that has been what we've been watching for a couple of videos now. We see this really prevail all the way through the end of the model run. Things get a little bit confused, but there is still this cold area, still very warm along the west, which is going to be more indicative of a positive PNA pattern all the way through the 19th and 20th. Now, speaking of that PNA, I want to just take a look at the chart. We never really do this, but I want to dive into it and show you guys on a graph exactly what we're talking about here. Your neutral line or zero line is somewhere around here. It's a little, off, but there we go. And as you can see, each day at the bottom, note that. So we see by the time we're reaching about the 8th, 9th, 10th, we flip past very far negative, by the way, down here into the positive range, and we go pretty far positive. And this wants to stay positive all the way through the end of the model run, which takes us through the 19th. Keep in mind, this is an ensemble model, so that's probably why we get more averaged out here at the end. Odds are we could stay in a very far positive PNA for more extended time than what this is showing right here. So speaking of that, there's our daily emojis. It's been a while since I've done that. Let's go into the CFS model. This is going to get us a little bit further, and we see us flip into that positive PNA pattern pretty quickly here for the latter portion of September. So this is going to take us from September 24th through October 1st here. And look at all this cold air we're seeing over a lot of the eastern states. So definitely a very, very interesting pattern. And then we do see some cold out west, but I would say a majority of this area is dealing with warmth, so more indicative of that positive PNA, and that's probably what's causing this cold air to surge southward. So this pattern really is a big driving force around the nation oftentimes. And then we get very averaged out as we get far into this model. This is another ensemble model, and this is very, very far out. This is more than a month out. And we see cold from coast to coast. I'm very doubtful that that would be the case. I think that we're either going to see one or the other. We may flip back towards cold in the west. We may keep seeing cold in the east, but I do not think it's going to be both at once like this. So this is probably just this model getting averaged out towards the end. But we can see warmth out west at least through this time frame, which would be October 3rd through 10th. So perhaps a positive PNA, colder pattern in the east, going to be prevailing for quite an extended amount of time if these models happen to be correct. The highest odds, though, of course, is the very near future, where we do see that flip towards a positive PNA. I certainly think the likelihood of that is increasing daily. Now, as we take a look here at the tropics, we can see that this threat is still very, very high. We see now a 70% chance of development over the next 2 days. So way more odds than not that we do see this one develop over the next 2 days. We also have a 90% chance of development over the next 7 days. So nearly perfect odds that we do see this one develop. And this is going to be one to watch. I talked about it yesterday, but this trajectory is just not good at all for the east coast of the United States, maybe even the Gulf, definitely not the Bahamas, and we're going to have to watch this one daily with you guys because this is not a good look. We do have Gert, which we're not going to take a look at because it has dissipated now. We will take a look at Cadia, I think it's called. Now, we do have this new area. There is a 0% over the next 2 days, but we do see a 40% chance of development over the next 7. So perhaps this is going to be our next storm developing as well. Coming out of that main development region offshore of Africa, another wave on the way. So as we approach the peak of hurricane season, we're certainly seeing quite a bit of activity coming out of there. I want to take a look here real quickly. Tropical Depression Cadia, definitely looking to remain at that tropical depression status, but we can see all the way through late week potentially this one sticking around. So maybe we're going to have to talk about this one a little bit longer than I originally anticipated. Now, as we take a look at the spaghetti model guidance for our 90% chance area, we can see a cone something like this of where this one is going to potentially go. We're seeing very good agreement from here from the models, which is a really good thing. You want to be accurate and you want to have a good idea of what to expect. I would way rather see this than a really spread out spaghetti model plot at this point. So this is a good look. Maybe a little bit further of a north curve here. We could get lucky and see this one head out to sea. Fingers crossed for that type of a solution, but it's way too early to say for sure in either direction. The intensity guidance here is looking a little bit worse in my opinion. We see a really solid consensus at around category 3 or 4 eventually with this one. So definitely not the best look here, but we will watch it closely. We are expected to cross into tropical storm status probably before tomorrow's video, if not a little bit after it. So we're going to be watching closely. And then at some point within the next couple of days, these models are saying it's very likely we're going to see this one cross into hurricane status quickly, maybe within 12 to 24 hours of that becoming major hurricane status. So very rapid development here. And then it's basically the sky's the limit after that, potentially category 3, 4, 5. Nothing can be ruled out. This storm is heading in a perfect direction for development, unfortunately, and we're going to have to track this one daily. Speaking of daily, we do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe as we have those daily uploads. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.